Hello, GBC family. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the summer weather. I know that the semester may be getting busy for some of you, but last week we also celebrated convocations for our recent graduates. Congratulations, grads! Now, with more students a part of the alumni family, we wanted to re-release our alumni episode to give you all the details on the discounts, benefits, and perks of being a GBC alum. So, without further ado, please enjoy this Encore episode. Hey Huskies, this is the podcast producer and co-host Claire, and I'm back for your final episode of this semester where we're going to learn about what happens after you graduate. Yes, believe it or not, you do not fall into a black hole. There is still GBC support after you graduate, and you can get it through alumni services. This will be a really helpful conversation, not just for those graduating this semester, but for anyone who is currently a student and wants to know now how they can tap into supports and benefits after they've left the college. So today I'm joined by our guests, Alumni Employer Engagement Coordinator Trisha Grace and Manager of Alumni Relations and Engagement, Carmel Drumgoole. Hello, Trisha and Carmel. How are you today?
Hi, Claire.
Hi, Claire. Yes, great to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you both so much for taking the time to join me today and talk about this. So we're nearing the end of the semester, so obviously this is something that will be relevant and maybe on some people's minds. So just first of all, what is Alumni Services and why does it exist?
So Alumni Services, we're really here to build a GBC community of pride. And we do that in different ways. So we offer different opportunities to be involved with the college through alumni relations activities. We're going to talk about more of this as we go through, but just some things like volunteering back at the college. We have opportunities to be involved in events that we're putting on, or coming in and guest speaking in a classroom, being on panels, different ways that we want to bring grads back so they feel they're attached to the community going forward, even though they're no longer students. They can come back, they can mentor students, guest speak, all that kind of stuff. So we do a lot of that. We also have a mandate to help grads to grow their careers and be successful. And in that way, we offer a webinar series, and I'm going to talk about that too in a bit. And that webinar series, it's twofold. So one thing is to invite grads back to sit on panels and share their experiences with other students and grads. And in doing so, they create skills in speaking publicly, for example. But also they're offering advice to grads on how to be successful in the steps they're taking to build their careers. So our aim is really to foster connection to the college and to the larger George Brown College community.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love that. That's great. It's like a way that George Brown is saying, we have so much more to offer you that we want to keep offering you this even when you're not a student anymore. Because the George Brown community is just so large, so vast. Like before you even arrive, there's supports, and after you finish.
Oh, for sure. And I think, one of the points of pride, I think, for the college is that a lot of our graduates come back when they're in the position to hire. And they come back, and that's why my title is Alumni Employer Coordinator. We have a lot of alumni that come back and they want to bring on board the graduates. They know how good they are. And so that is something else. It's that full circle, right? They come through as students, and then they come back eventually, and they help the college in different ways. But one of them can be to hire our grads or to offer work integrated learning to students, donate to certain programs that we have, or students that need that financial support as well. So we like to bring them back at different stages of their career as well.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's like an access point for GBC alum to support other GBC alum. Give a helping hand for getting a job and whatnot. So what sorts of things do you do to get more specific? What sorts of things do you do that supports grads once they're out of the college?
Hi, Claire, I can answer that. So there's a variety of supports available for graduates across the college, from career services to alumni privileges. So for instance, and Trisha just touched on it, we host a series of career focused webinars where graduates can share their experiences of working in different sectors. They can highlight different industries and tips on how to navigate the job market successfully. Graduates can also connect with GBC Career Services to seek support with resume writing, interview prep, job search tips, etc. And again, alumni can also access the GBC Careers website, where employers post jobs on a regular basis. Great place to find out what's available out there in the market. And aside from that, also we have a scholarship fund in place to support alumni of George Brown College who are returning to the college for another full-time post-secondary credential. And students can apply for that via StuView. And then we also offer various perks and benefits both across the college and externally. And I think we're going to talk a little bit later about those specifics around the perks and benefits. And also, we love highlighting GBC alumni success stories that, share their career journey across the various sectors. So there are some of the ways in which we offer supports to our graduates.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Can you talk a little bit more about the webinar series? Like how often does it occur? And maybe some examples of some of the topics or the people who come on to talk?
I'll jump in there because that's really sort of something that was developed at where I tend to be the moderator. So you'll hear my voice often in these webinars. Yeah. So just the history on it was when, the COVID hit, right? And suddenly we had to pivot and think about ways that we could still provide value to our graduates. And so what was born out of that was this series that we put together. And one of the first one we looked at was sector spotlight. And that was because we noticed that, some sectors were not doing as well as other sectors during COVID. And there was a real shift in different areas. And so we thought, let's spotlight a few of these sectors and look a little more deeply at how they were affected by COVID and which ones are emerging more quickly than others. For example, where was growth being identified within those sectors, and how could our graduates pivot to new sectors or succeed in an overall way in any sector they chose? So that was the sector spotlight. So basically it's bringing grads onto a panel, and then also having a kind of expert from an association, for example, or someone who had the broader view of a sector to sit on the panel as well. Sometimes they weren't grads, sometimes they were grads, but there was a mix of graduates and sort of industry experts.
Okay.
And then they talked about what kind of things were happening, where was their growth, how to prepare to enter some of these sectors. I have done ones on automotive, IT sector, construction, sports and entertainment, and a bunch of others. So definitely any of the listeners should go take a look at our alumni webpage, and they can see those particular sectors we focus on. Actually, tomorrow I'm doing one on the green economy. So the spotlight is on the green economy, which I think is really timely considering the budget. If anyone's heard how much money is going to be going towards building up those supporting sustainable objectives and strategies that companies are pulling together.
Yeah.
I do 3 other webinars. One is called Employer Talks, and that is bringing on employers who are hiring our grads and they want to continue to hire our grads. So if they are hiring in large numbers, I invite them to be a part of a webinar. And that's where they talk about, their company, how to be successful getting hired, how to be successful maintaining their career in the company. And again, I bring on grads that are working at that company so they can they can share what they do in the company, the role they have, how they got the job, any tips for grads. That's Employer Talks. And then there's Grad Talks as well. And Grad Talks is somewhat similar, but it usually has a different focus. So, I've done a couple of Be Your Own Boss, so grads who have their own businesses, also women working in a digital world. So brought on some grads who are females working in a digital world and just how they're navigating around their careers. So that one really is just grads coming on board and talking about their journey. We find that, grads really want to hear from other grads, how did they navigate that process when they first left the college to successfully find work? So that's really Grad Talks.
Yeah.
Career Intelligence is another webinar series, and that's really just informative webinars. And there's a whole bunch that we have up on our website, and they're on YouTube as well. And it's just topics that are going to help grads move their career forward, and provides really a focus on more of the resources, tools, and what they need to actually know in order to be successful in their careers. So there's ones up there on LinkedIn, how to create a really stellar LinkedIn profile, emotional intelligence in the workplace, what to be aware of when you start your job, how to build value on a team, things like that. Coping with career transition. I mean, I know we used to work more directly one-on-one with graduates, and there is a lot of tension and fear around moving from a grad position or a student into the workplace. So coping with that kind of transition, there's a webinar up on that. And then there's the usual ones, resume writing, how to do a great interview, all the usual stuff. And we call that series Career Intelligence. So you can definitely take a look at that. I think there's some really helpful things there to support graduates as they're moving into their careers.
Yeah, and I can imagine as someone who might be about to graduate that it would be helpful to sort of like focus in on what they need to pay attention to even in their courses, for instance. Like sometimes you have so much work and so much information that you have to be studying, and then to watch one of these grad talks, you can get a better sense of like, okay, this is the type of stuff that this person actually is now using in the real world. Maybe it's in a field that you want to go into. So that could be a really helpful way to focus your current studies as well.
Yeah, I think it's the expectations. A lot of times students don't know a lot about those expectations, whether it's in a particular sector, whether it's in a particular job. And so hearing from the graduates who've gone through this and can share those insights around, what to look out for, how to be prepared, what you need to have when you're starting your career, or even when you're transitioning at a different level of your career, what to consider, how to network, why that's important, where do you find people to network with, all those really important questions I think that students aren't sure of, and so that these webinars will give them that information.
And so shifting to another great thing that Alumni Services offers, I heard there are some perks and benefits for alumni. Can you talk about those?
Yes, Claire, I can speak to that. So George Brown alumni can access various on-campus benefits, discounts and perks. So graduates can access the Library Learning Commons, along with the Wave Clinic, the bookstore, and the George Brown College Theatre School performances. And then aside from that, then the discounts and perks, we have different arrangements with entertainment, such as like the CNE and Ripley's Aquarium of Canada, if you've not been to that.
I haven't been yet.
Okay, so there you go. And the likes of like Stratford Festival. So they're all on our website. So I would encourage graduates to check that out via the georgebrown.ca/alumni, and they're all listed there, and definitely they're available for graduates, and we'd love them to avail of these privileges that they're entitled to.
Yeah, I also glanced over that and I saw that there's a discount for wine tours, Niagara wine tours as well, which caught my eye. So yeah, that's really exciting. So, and then what are affinity supports?
Sure. So we work closely with our affinity partners such as Manulife and Economical to again provide discounted rates to graduates on like home, car, travel insurance and banking products. And so that's all again on our website, and would encourage graduates to check that out. And if it's something that they want to avail of, it's a great opportunity to get a discount on those services.
For sure. Okay. And how can students access these alumni services?
Oh, yes, sure. So upon graduating from George Brown College, this is a great question, Claire. Your student email is only valid for 1 year. So we really encourage graduates to stay in touch by signing up to our newsletter and to remain informed about upcoming, events and initiatives that are happening across the college. And so whether that be like alumni related events or new programs are opportunities to remain engaged with the college, such as Tricia mentioned this earlier, volunteering, mentoring. So it's really important to connect with us to ensure that we have your most up-to-date information, because the email only lasts for 1 year.
Okay. And how do students make sure that they get their email in your list?
Well, there's a couple different ways, but I'm going to suggest that they can directly email us. It's alumni@georgebrown.ca. So it's probably pretty easy to remember. If you want to stay in touch with us, just let us know. Once you graduate, you're going to go into what we have a database for alumni. So you probably go in there, but we need to get permission to stay in touch with you. And when you graduate, we have permission to reach out to you. I think it's for 1 year. And then, or maybe 2, and then we can't reach out to you anymore. So if you really want us to stay in touch over the years, let us know right away. Like, just email us at alumni@georgebrown.ca. Say, here's my student number. This is my name. I want to stay in touch for as long as possible, indefinitely, whatever you want to say. And then we'll just ensure that we check off in our database that you've given us permission to continue to reach out. I mean, at a different time, you can decide at any time if you don't want us to reach out. But I think just to be on the safe side, I would check that box and just say, yeah, stay in touch with us. We are bringing a lot of new things on to the college. We're always in talks about how do we make the grad experience great. So we have initiatives coming up, and if you want to hear about those, we usually would go through our newsletters that go out to graduates. So we do have a monthly newsletter that goes out at the beginning of every month, and that's where we'll talk about upcoming events and things that you can get involved in. And so we have to have your permission in order to send you that newsletter. So that's just I'd say get on to us at alumni@georgebrown.ca. Let us know that we can mark you off in the database as someone who wants to stay in touch with us, and then you'll get our newsletter on a regular basis.
Okay, so if I want the updates about those discounted wine tours, I should email alumni@georgebrown.ca.
Yes.
Good to know. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so and then my other question is, how long do George Brown alumni benefit from these types of perks?
I can jump in. I'm not sure.
Sure.
Carmel. So a grad is a grad for life.
Okay.
So once you finish up your studies at George Brown College, you really are automatically your alumni. So I get a lot of those questions too around, where do I sign up to become alumni? You don't have to sign up anywhere. Your information goes into our alumni database. So your status changes from student to awarded, which means you're a graduate if you finish all your courses, and immediately your status changes. And then we have you in our database. And that's when we start to reach out to you and say, hey, this is great. Congratulations. Here's some of the stuff we're doing. And so that's for life. So you don't have to worry about not getting in. Here's what happens though sometimes. Is sometimes a grad will say, oh, I didn't hear from you about that event. I really wanted to go to that event through an email or something. And then I'll check them in our database and find that we don't have permission to stay in touch with them. And they didn't realize they slipped off. So after 2 years, they slip off, and then there's no way we can connect with them. So again, it's just as soon as you can, let us know. alumni@georgebrown.ca. We'll ensure that we keep you then on our mailing list for information going out to grads through our newsletter or other channels like that we have. We also have social media, right? We're up on social media quite a bit. We have a LinkedIn. It's a new LinkedIn. So we have our George Brown College LinkedIn site, but we now have George Brown Alumni as a branch off of that, and we have our own LinkedIn. So things like that we would be announcing in a newsletter too.
Okay, that would be an important LinkedIn to be aware of, since you folks do so much career help as well.
Yeah.
So is there anything else new on the horizon?
I do. I'm going to jump in. Sorry, Carmel may have something else to add. So one of the things we discovered during the 3 years that we were not so much in person is reaching back out at this stage. There are a lot of graduates who want to feel like they belong to a community. Mm-hmm. And, so alumni relations is kind of stepping up in that sense too, and saying, let's create community. One of the things that we just launched just a couple of weeks ago, actually, is a book club for the GBC community. So that community is everybody. It's students, it's grads, it's staff and faculty. So Claire, come on board. It is a book club that we have started up. And, to find out more about it, go to our website, georgebrown.ca/alumni, and you're going to get our web pages there. And when you get on there, you're going to hear about everything we just talked about. And the book club is in there too. So click on the book club to learn more and see, what is this all about? How can I get started?
Do you know what the current book is right now?
Yes, I do. It's called The Push, and it's by Ashley Audrian. Now, she is a Canadian author. That's why we chose it, just to get the ball going. We're going to cover about 5 books this year. So we just launched it. We'll go till March of next year and see how we do with the interest. But right now we are over 140 registered for the book club. It is an online book club, which means that you're reading the book and then you're sharing your thoughts and comments with that larger book club community, and they're sharing their information too. And so far so good. It's a lot of fun.
So is it like an online chat? Like, how do you share?
Yeah, a bit like an online chat around the book, and it's moderated. So we have a moderator who sends out stimulating questions that you might want to give thought to, right, and then share. I'm trying to think of the reading period goes till May. I think it's May 15th that we wrap up this book. So it's 2 months for each book, and then we all vote on the next book. So so it's kind of fun, and it brings people together.
Definitely.
And you can join and you can start and go like, yeah, you know what? I'm not into this. You stay in the book club, and then the next time you'll get the email saying, okay, we're voting on the next book. So you don't have to be in on every book. Once you're in the club, it's just, you'll get the emails that say, hey, you want to join this time around, which is kind of nice too. So you don't have to read a book you're not interested in.
And I love that this is connected to George Brown, because I can imagine, sometimes you graduate and then you kind of like forget about the people who are part of your learning experience or who are in the field that you are now trying to be in. And you might feel disconnected from them. But like you said earlier, so much of being successful in your field is about networking and about knowing people and connecting with people. And what a better way to do that than in a book club where you're all sort of sharing your thoughts around a creative piece of work. So that's phenomenal. I love that.
And Claire, there's a couple other things I'll just mention. We used to support chapters at the college, and we still have one that's still going. But we've decided to really push that. So we're going to be bringing chapters back into the college. And what chapters are, it's really just a group of people who share a common interest. And through those chapters, they can build out networking events, professional development opportunities, those sort of things within that common interest group. That's something that I think grads can really look forward to. That is going to be launching hopefully in the next few months. And that's going to be a lot of fun for everybody. We're also looking into a job search club. And then we've just been throwing around some ideas around that. How can we bring grads back in that kind of format where they can share kind of how they're job searching, get some tips on great job searching, challenges they're running into, and how can we support them around that.
Wow. The chapter sounds really great as a way to also connect with people if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, for instance, before. So that this has been so helpful. Thank you both so much for joining me. Was there anything else you wanted to mention before we say goodbye?
Carmel, I'll throw it over.
No, I think that was great, Claire. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and we look forward to connecting with our graduates.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much again. And I hope that we can talk again sometime soon. And if you're listening, students, make sure to email alumni@georgebrown.ca to get those updates on all your discounts and perks that you might have been missing out on if you already are an alumni, or jump the gun if you're about to become an alumni. Just get in there and connect. Great. Well, thank you so much. And
thank you, Claire.
Yeah. Have a great
thanks, Claire.
Have a great afternoon.
Take care. Bye-bye.